As soon as I'm here, yeah, I'm gonna start to get floated and then moved into single leg X, right? So even if I don't have like a full on, like ideally I have a near side underhook or a deep far side underhook here, even if I don't have that, as long as I have some purchase under his elbows and have his elbows floating out, I'm gonna start to be okay coming into mount, okay? So let's go like in a vacuum real quick. Mount position doesn't always happen like this, but we're here, clean mount control, right? What am I thinking about? Really the main thing is getting his spine weak, all right? So moving his head off center his body, because that's where he generates all of his power. But first we need to make sure we're not getting framed on, hip escaped or anything, right? So the first thing that I wanna do if I'm in this position is drop my chest on Mike, okay? Ideally I get his face turned to the side here. I have my elbows flared. If my elbows are like this, Mike can like pull in one of my arms, start to bridge and roll, exactly. But if my elbows are flared like this and he tries to do it, I have really strong structure and it becomes much harder to do. The next thing I'm gonna start to do is I'm gonna open up my chest into Mike, and it's not gonna freeze him forever, but it's gonna buy me time, right? Because in order for him to generate power, he needs to start moving his head, being able to bridge. So if I'm flattening him, taking away all that space, it becomes much harder. The next thing I'm gonna look to do is pick a side, move our head over to that side, and grip Mike over his ear. I wanna make sure I'm claiming as much of his head as possible and wrapping over his head here like this. If I'm too shallow like this, I can't really generate the power that I need to. I like to cup the ear. And as soon as I can, I'm gonna start to peel his head over to the side, okay? If I get this far, it becomes much harder for Mike to escape. In order for him to do anything, he has to free his head first, okay? So that's buying me some time and it's making him a lot weaker. The other thing I wanna think about is I wanna connect this side of his head to something. If I move his head, but his head isn't connected to anything, he's gonna probably be stronger than me and he can start to move his head, get it back to neutral, exactly, turn, build away. You know how like when we're playing guard, we always wanna connect our knee to our elbow because when we have a connection to something, we're strong? It's like the opposite thing where we're connecting his ear to our shoulder, so it becomes hard for his head to exit that structure, okay? As soon as I get his head offline, I'm gonna start to drop my head and start to cover his cheek here. That's gonna make it even harder for Mike to start to like recenter his head here. And then we're gonna just freeze here, and now we can start to peel the arm, okay? So if the guy's super, super strong, getting the arm is pretty hard to do, but again, like we've created all this distance from his head to his arm, it's gonna become like much easier to like move the arm around. If he's nice and tight like here like this is much stronger. So we've peeled the head, we've blocked with our own chin, and we're gonna start to walk our arm through. If I'm too high on his arm, just pinch your elbow down. I'm not gonna get anywhere. If I'm too low on his arm, he can just pummel inside and get the underhook on me. Yeah, exactly. So I want to think about like having it slightly above the elbow while we're flaring our elbow. We're gonna walk, walk, walk. If we need to at any point, we can always turn our body this way so we can use the power of our body to draw up and help us here. And then at some point, he's resisting this whole time, he's driving his elbow down. At some point, it's gonna become very hard to keep climbing his arm because I have to like go this way, which isn't super strong. So when I'm ready, I'm just gonna slingshot his head back into his elbow and collect our arms together, okay? So now we have like this really strong double bar underneath his head. We're lifting his head off the mat, and it's gonna be very, very hard for our partner to move around. The whole time we're opening up our chest and like retracting our shoulder blades, taking up all that negative space, okay? You can like mother's milk people from here if you want, but that's not what we're going for today. But we're gonna stop here. So one more time. We've gotten in this basic mount position. As soon as we can, just be nice when you're doing this, when you're drilling. We're opening up our chest into our partner. We're removing that negative space. Every moment in this sort of scenario, I want the person on bottom to like test it out a little bit. So we're gonna have our bottom person move around, make sure we're taking up that space, wiggling, opening up our chest if we need to. When we're ready, we're gonna claim the ear, drop our elbow. We're gonna start to move his head away. If at any point his neck feels too strong to peel, we can always drive our body to emphasize the strength here. And then we're gonna drop our chin underneath the chin, And then when we're ready, we're gonna go under, slightly above the elbow, start to flare our arm just a little bit. Partner, I want you to drive your arm down a little bit so you can practice kind of manipulating your partner's spine as you bring it through. When he can't get it up anymore, we're just gonna go under, slingshot the arm, go 2 arms under the head like this, wiggle back down a little bit, keep our chest open, and then we're gonna pressure test again, bottom person, try to move around, see what that feels like. See, like, the more small movements Mike can get going, the worse it becomes for me. So at any given time, you want to take up all the space and really like pull your elbows back, open up your chest. You don't want to use a lot of strength, but you do want to remove all that negative space. Sound good? I'll come around and help. 1, 2, 3. The grip on the head. So if possible, we want to try to cover like as much of the head as possible, because if we only have one side like this, Dan can move his head to his right on his own terms and start to swivel around and move around. So I'm coming in and I'm locking over his face, right? And now when I'm ready and I'm peeling over, I'm thinking about connecting my shoulder to his face and bringing his ear to his shoulder. If he's really strong like Dan, another thing that I do, this is kind of mean, so I'm sorry, is I think, so when his head is like strong like this, it's very hard to move. So one thing I can do to make it a little bit easier is just drive my chin into his jaw a little bit, and you see how I cut a little bit of an angle? That makes it much easier for me to move his head here like this, and it makes it a little more uncomfortable for him. The other thing is, just be careful of this underhook, right? This is always gonna be a fight. The guy's always gonna be resisting. So person on bottom, I want you to like resist a little bit so the person on top gets a little bit of feeling. When we're walking, it's never gonna be as easy as just like doing this. Gordon Ryan does this like finger walking thing, so we can do that to move it over. But we really have to be mindful of where we're connected on our partner's arms. If our elbow is too flared, he's gonna drop his elbow and come on the inside. If I'm too close to his armpit, he's gonna just connect his elbow to his rib cage here. Yeah, exactly, and there's no way I'm gonna move it. So I need to walk that way. Sometimes you need to like change directions this way, this way, this way. And we're walking, we're walking, we're walking. And at some point I can't go anymore, and we're ready. We're just gonna slingshot everything together, go elbow to elbow on our grips, and his hand off the floor, okay? So when we're here, a bunch of things are gonna happen. In some situations, our partner might drive his elbow this way. If that happens, then we get the nice head and arm. But a lot of the times they know that's coming, so we're just gonna cook them here for a little bit. And when we're ready, we're gonna bridge up. And that's terrible for him, right? It peels his head off the mat, and then we're gonna bring our head to one side, and then we're gonna bring our knee up into a strong arm lock position. We're starting to work that arm lock, okay? So I have this knee nice and high. When we're ready, we can switch to the S mount. And people play S mount differently. The way I learned it, and I really like it, is I like to be on my toes here. You don't need to do this, but once I'm on my toes, I feel like I can drive my leg to the inside, and I can start thinking about connecting my knee to my heel here like this. Close this gap as much as possible. Now, if he's like grabbing his arm and that sort of thing, I can change to an elbow to elbow grip. I can finish arm lock here, or I can just come through, kick through his head, keep my weight on his chest, back heel, and finish the arm lock like that. So I'm gonna start from this head and arm position, elbow to elbow, right? When we're ready, guys, we don't wanna be too high up in the beginning, otherwise this isn't gonna work. So sometimes when you're collecting the arm, you end up here. We can always wiggle back, open up our chest, right? And then when we're ready, we're just gonna dive bomb our head into the floor, bring our knee up, spin through, drive our heel or our toes into the mat if we want to, close this gap as much as possible. When you're in mount, the strongest thing you can do, in my opinion, is collect the elbows together, because once the elbows are together, both of his shoulder blades are off the floor and he can't do anything. So I always just love to be in this position because I can always switch to the other arm or go attack either arm, go here, right? But when I'm ready, I'm just gonna hug my shoulder, keeping my chest connected to the arm as much as possible here, leaning over, kicking through, back heeling for a really strong arm lock. All right, sound good? A little bit about finishing arm lock here, okay? The main thing I want to think about in S mount is keeping my ass on his chest. I'm seeing a lot of guys starting to like peel off and fall off. More important than turning the angle is just keeping my ass on his chest as much as possible here. I'm putting as much weight on his chest. I'm sorry, Dan.
You're good.
I'm putting as much weight as my chest on as possible. Even if it becomes my leg, I'm still leaning my weight on his chest like this, so he has to carry it, okay? I'm driving my heel to my knee here, squeezing as much as possible. And when I'm finishing the arm lock, I'm keeping my weight on his chest. So whether I'm coming here or here, I'm leaning forward. I'm not leaning back on the arm lock. So you can make your legs light by leaning forward here and kicking through his head and back heeling. Okay? I don't want to see people like try to swing the leg over and falling off. It might work, but it probably won't. Just a couple of things to think about. All right, 1, 2, 3. Head, and then it's not great here. Also, the chest like is the easiest thing to open up, right? I can go like this, and that means I can just eat up all that space. If it's low on my stomach, I can't open it up as easily, and Dan can like, if he goes crazy and just starts like shaking his head like crazy, it becomes much harder to contain him. So let's try to keep our chest here, open him up, and take away every single inch that he has here, okay? We need to get low, 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 and that's gonna let us drop, put our asses up in the air and drive our head to the floor. You see how high his hips come up? That's what we want. The other thing now is we're coming here. I don't want to see us do this when we're S-mounting, okay? It's not the worst thing in the world, especially if we have good upper body connection, but it does mean we don't have weight on our partner. So when we come up, put our knee high up on the ground, now we can lift our head, his head, and all the weight is on the chest here, okay? That's my priority. I'm always thinking about how do I keep weight on the chest and lift the head. The other thing that I'm seeing is like, we're getting a little lazy and we're like letting our shoulders go concave here, which makes our hips sag off to the side. I want to think about like, I'm just humping him the entire time. I'm pinching my knees with my heel and I'm driving my hips through. Now it's really hard for Dan to turn. Try to turn the way you said that you would turn if, it's like, it's impossible. And now when I'm ready, everything becomes super easy. When I'm finishing arm lock, guys, I don't want to come here and then have my leg through like this. My leg is bent and I want to keep it bent. So I kick through and I back heel and I cover that space so he can't bridge on the floor anymore. And I finish the arm lock that way. All right, that was all. I'm not gonna make us do situationals from here today. Let's just do some rounds.